get more and more rural once you get outside of Lebanon, but there is a Helm Schoolhouse Road and Ed Sullivan Road, and this is just off to the southeast of downtown Lebanon, is where we've had, again, this kind of pulse in some of these really strong winds. Anytime, I would say almost any time we've seen the winds get above 70, 80 on this color palette of our velocity product, we have had some reports of some damage. This might be some tree damage, some power line damage. Would not be surprised if we get some spotty power outages near the Lebanon area. This is the strongest winds we've seen on Max HD radar so far this afternoon with a severe weather threat. Again, indicating winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. A severe thunderstorm warning is issued when you get the potential of winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. So not only have we had the severe thunderstorm warning in Marion County, we also have a portion of that is now under a tornado warning. So we've got the green toward the radar, the red away from the radar. There's some rotation right here. There's also this highlighted area of strong, potentially damaging winds just to the southeast of Lebanon. So it was right on top of Lebanon and is now moving off to the east into the Pinnock area very shortly, basically along and south of Highway 68. So heads up, gravel switch, Pinnock, you need to be seeking shelter right now. It looks like this threat will stay to the north of Campbellsville. Let's back out our view a little bit here, more Alden, and this is going to only take maybe 10 minutes, and it's going to be moving out of our viewing area and to the east of the gravel switch. So you can see that enhancement on the radar. It definitely looks brighter than the other colors, so that indicates that we have some rotation and the potential of a bow echo and damaging winds coming down to the surface. And again, maybe some power outages happening or very shortly near the Lebanon area. Between Lebanon, Newmarket, and the Bradfordsville area is where we have that severe weather threat right now. Let's back it out even farther here and look at our regular radar, and notice this is well to the southeast of Louisville. So the threat is now only for a very short period of time around Lebanon. This is not severe right now. This is pretty unorganized at the moment, even though we're going to watch all these individual cells very closely because this is some unstable air, a lot of instability for these storms to use to become strong to severe. Around Campbellsville, Greensburg, you just have some of these scattered downpours. The threat mainly right here, and of course in this tornado warned area that does include areas just to the east of Marion County. So it looks like that threat is staying south of you, Springfield. Thankfully, that threat is gone now for Bardstown, Hodgenville, Elizabethtown. The severe weather threat is east of you, and there is no severe weather threat for Louisville. I want to point that out. There is no severe weather threat north of the Bluegrass Parkway or west of Interstate 65. Again, just this little area south of the Bluegrass Parkway, mainly right now, largely in the central sections of Marion County, Kentucky, around the Lebanon area. Let's go ahead and go back, and we'll put another track on that as we look at the velocity and look at some of the wind speeds there, see if we have an update. Still see that enhanced color there indicating winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, very near Lebanon and points just off to the east and southeast where we have that curvature right there indicating the winds, this jet that is jetting out those raindrops and making them spread out in that curved bow echo signature right there. So Bradfordsville, be seeking shelter right now, heading your direction at about 2:30 into Riley at about 2:32, Gravel Switch at about 2:38. Alliston, this clock is not correct, by the way, Alden, in your upper right-hand corner. That's a little bit behind. But heading into Forkland at 2:45, Shoehammer School at 2:50, into Mitchellsburg at about 2:51, and Butchertown at 2:55. So that's where it's going to be heading. Please be seeking shelter right now, especially for areas just to the southeast of Lebanon. Look at that latest radar update. It is now the threat east of Lebanon. So good news here. It looks like you are right now or very soon over the next minute or two out of that severe weather threat in Lebanon. That severe weather threat now racing towards Gravel Switch, 337 in the Bradfordsville area. If you live between Bradfordsville and Gravel Switch, it may be just a little bit north of Gravel Switch up to the Marion and Washington County line, in this area right here, seek shelter immediately and be in your safe place. It's basically this leading edge for the most part that we are most concerned about. Back to velocity, this is going to be a little bit behind. In just a couple seconds, we'll likely see this update to where that threat is now moving a lot closer to the gravel switch area. So really, areas of concern along 337 near Pinnock to gravel switch, eastern sections of Marion County. Be seeking shelter in the lowest level of your home and away from the doors and the windows. And it looks like, Alden, that tornado warning has been kind of updated right there. Lebanon is now outside of that tornado warned polygon.
Yes, they trimmed that warning down, so now it includes Pinnock. We also just had that update there, so we see a much broader area as well of those really high wind speeds. I'll go ahead and query some of these, and we'll get an idea just of how strong some of those winds it could be. Still around that 67 to 70 mile per hour range, and you have to remember as well, that's a 72 mile per hour pixel there. This is fairly high up. The radar is scanning a few thousand feet up, so this isn't necessarily making it down to the surface, but we still have some pretty good indications that it could be. And as we have seen already within the last couple of weeks, we've had these really strong straight line winds or these very brief segments of bowing winds on radar that do still manage to produce a spin up tornado. So just clicking through some of these other wind speeds here, we see about 63 miles per hour there, 67, around 70 miles per hour. So that highest part, those highest winds that I just clicked there was about 72 miles per hour. So even if there is not a tornado, which I don't have any indications of any reported tornadoes, these are still very potent storms, even if they are short-lived and producing some very strong wind gusts. So it's smart to still stay inside, and this tornado warning that we have goes until 2:45 p.m. Eastern time, and it's moving to the east at about 35 miles per hour. So just to the north of Bradfordsville, you could also see some fairly gusty winds there. We'll have to see how that develops. But within the next 1 or 2 radar scans, Ben, we're likely going to see that area of high winds and that tornado warning be trimmed even further and pushing out of our viewing area there past to the east of Gravel Switch. And
you may want to just to be safe, check out the CC, the correlation coefficient, see if there's any debris signature there. It looks like there may be some leaves flying around, and sometimes even just bugs will start flying around and get picked up by the radar. Kind of the leading edge looks like it might be around the gravel switch area. Not seeing any real organization here with the correlation debris trackers, what we call it. So that is good news. Typically that would be kind of a concentrated blue, maybe circular object. I'm not seeing that. So not necessarily a tornado on the ground at this time. We do not have a report of a tornado on the ground, but definitely the potential of some strong winds, as Alden was mentioning here in the eastern sections, basically east central areas of Marion County, Kentucky. Now, the good news here, this threat does not last long. It really is moving quickly. It will be in and out in very short order. Lebanon, you're in the clear of severe weather. That is now off to the east of your area, and it looks like east of 49 is where that threat is now, basically probably heading right over the top of 337. This bulge, this pulse, this bow echo, whatever you want to call it, this enhanced area of energy and possible straight line winds has been pulsing out and moving a little bit faster than the main line. So that is going to get in and out of your area even more quickly. Heading to Gravel Switch in just a couple of minutes and right over 337. And as Alden also mentioned, once we get the brand new scan here in the next minute or so, it will likely put it on the Marion County line, and that puts it out of our viewing area too. Let's go back to look at radar and do a loop over the last hour or so. There is that latest radar update. So it looks like the leading edge is now moving east of Gravel Switch, east of Bradfordsville. So maybe even picking up some forward momentum here and some speed as it moves east of Lebanon, Kentucky. So the good news is, Lebanon, you are no longer in a severe weather threat. The central areas of Marion County, including Newmarket, even though there is still a severe thunderstorm warning, that threat is now well off to the east of your area, right over the top of Gravel Switch, and about to move out of our viewing area and east of Marion County. Let's go back up our view and see if there are any other areas that are showing some bright spots that we would need to investigate a little bit closer. Just some enhanced wind speeds perhaps just to the south of Calvary to Phillipsburg. Here's 208, 1157, Peck Ford, and towards Sallytown. So this is looking into the southern areas of Marion County, and it looks like near the Bradfordsville area as well. Let's go ahead and do that 1 hour loop on regular max HD radar, a broader view to kind of get a little better perspective of where we're looking at the severe weather threat for the next couple minutes, really. So notice southern Indiana, Metro Louisville, all the way down to the parkways, no severe weather threat whatsoever. We are done. We are cool in the 60s behind that cold front. We still have some warm, unstable air for just a little bit of real estate here near Campbellsville to Columbia and far eastern Marion County. I would say we're pretty settled down now as far as the unstable air in Greene and Hart counties as well. So once you get that rain to come down, really puts a lid and a damper on any severe weather, thankfully. So there is that tornado warned area that's about to move out of our viewing area. And just a heads up, if you have some friends, family outside of our viewing area, down 37, 34, heading towards Junction City, Danville, that's where that threat is going to be heading off to just to the south of Lexington and into the Lexington television market too. So still some strong winds here. This is a little bit of a lag. I think those strong winds are now moving to the east of Gravel Switch and just to the east of 337. Again, the scan of the radar can take a minute or two, and that's just enough time to have the threatening winds move a good 5 miles or so. So there's the latest track is this area of concern, this tornado warned storm heading towards Forkland and Butchertown over the next 15 minutes into Milledgeville, Junction City, as I mentioned just a second ago, right before 3 o'clock Eastern time. So that severe weather threat going to be diminishing very soon. Let's go ahead and look at the regular radar. I bet we've got perhaps another update here. So now the leading edge is now to the east of Gravel Switch and starting to move out of our viewing area. Just behind this view, when we go back to velocity, sometimes it can take the velocity to update just a little bit slower. So there's looks kind of like a little yellow bowling ball right here. That's the potential of some damaging straight line winds, it looks like. Not seeing a lot of rotation necessarily. Notice that little bulge right there, perhaps kind of a bow echo signature right there, Alden. That would be the potential of some strong to severe winds, maybe some power outages, some tree power line damage is certainly possible when we get winds like this. So this is probably in excess of 60, 70 miles per hour between 337, 243, very near the Forkland area, 73 mile per hour raindrop right there is what we're clicking on, 72. This is east of Bradfordsville is where we have the potential of some of these strong winds and a really good likelihood that even though these scans are at about 3,000 feet, there's a good potential that some of that's making it to the ground and possibly doing some damage. So watching out there on these, right on the Marion County line, far eastern Marion County, and just about outside of our viewing area as well. So it looks like the worst of it just to the south of Gravel Switch, between Jacktown and Gravel Switch is where we have the potential of some damaging straight line winds, perhaps a spin-up tornado as well, heading towards Forkland. Brumfield, just to the north of you. It looks like the worst of it will stay just south of your area. And Ben, they did just put out to the east of our area for Boyle, Casey, and Lincoln counties, that new tornado warning that just popped up there. So that does not include our viewing area. And notice how it kind of overlaps there a little bit too to the south of Perryville. So this cell is, in those higher wind speeds, have likely already exited much of Marion County at the moment. The only other area of some gusty winds is just to the south of Bradfordsville at the moment, but that does not look quite as threatening. This is the edge of that new tornado warning right there south of Perryville, kind of crosses State Highway 243, and once we get that new scan in, we'll probably see this yellow blob here push further to the east and out of our viewing area, Ben. If you live you might be picking up Lexington television stations and perhaps also Louisville television stations in this general area right here. So this is going to be moving out of our viewing area. Former storm team meteorologist, now chief meteorologist in Lexington, T.G. Shuck, is likely going to be on air with you. And if you're familiar with T.G., he's going to be handling that very well as it moves out of our direction. And they just canceled that tornado warning for Marion County. Okay, so it looks like that threat is now moving out of our viewing area. Nonetheless, there are still few of these storms and moving into Adair County. I think the air has settled down now in Lebanon, much of Taylor County, Campbellsville, Greene County, Greensburg. So I think that severe weather threat is coming to an end here. The only severe weather threat that I think exists for a couple more minutes would be Adair County because the air is still pretty ripe for the potential of some strong to severe storms. We're not seeing that on the radar necessarily right now, not seeing any enhancement in the wind speeds in Adair County, just watching that very closely here around the Cumberland Parkway. But that threat, good news here in Marion County, is now east. That tornado warning has been canceled for eastern Marion County. So with that said, we will send it back to your regular programming. And again, that severe weather threat wrapping up here very shortly here in Kentuckiana.